A couple years ago, I was at a family reunion. It was alright from what I remember, but I do remember I was refusing to eat for some reason. So my uncle, with my mom's permission, took us to our shared condo and turned on the 1960s Batman show. It's one of my first memories and one I will never ever forget, because that's where my superhero obsession really started. I remember the exact episode we watched and the time we did. And from my early superhero obsession came a cartoon obsession. After watching this, I watched Regular Show and other cartoons. While Regular Show is my favorite cartoon of all time, there's a certain cartoon that I watched that still defines me and my personality till today. And that cartoon was Soul Eater. Now, I have a lot of "that's literally me" characters, but the show with the most of those while teaching me lessons I still follow to this day is Soul Eater. Death the Kid, Black Star, Liz and Patty, Tsubaki, Soul, and most importantly, Maka all make up my favorite cast ever. There's never been a cast that has resonated with me more than Soul Eater's. Maki's journey throughout the story is my favorite character journey ever, and is what makes Soul Eater my most rewatchable anime, as it still gets me excited like a little kid while I'm watching it. Soul Eater is an absolutely perfect blend of comedy and dark twisted plot, using characters in such a way where it isn't stupid how they can go from one to the other. Now, the anime is an amazing adaptation until they just do whatever they want, and then has the worst ending I've ever seen in my life. But the manga of Soul Eater is Okubo's best work, and easily his peak in everything: writing, storytelling, art, basically anything you can think of. Okay, so there's basically a school for people who can turn into weapons and people who handle those weapons, called Meisters. The principal/president of the school is Death, like the Grim Reaper himself. Now, the reason the school was formed is to stop evil souls from collecting innocent souls. The soul thing we'll get back to. And without gatekeeping these people from collecting and eating souls, they will become a big bad monster named a Kinshin. Also, if you get 99 souls and a witch soul, you will turn into a Death Scythe, the most powerful of weapons, worthy of Death himself. Our main protagonist, Black Star, Death the Kid, the son of Death, I know, wow, such a shocker, and Maka and Soul are all introduced in cool ways. Maka and Soul taking down Jack the Ripper and meeting Blair, Black Star and his weapon Tsubaki failing to assassinate a crime mafia and having to retreat, and Death the Kid and his weapons Liz and Patty going to Pyramid Anubis. All these introductions are done perfectly in the anime and manga, and they give you a good basis on the characters in the beginning. Death the Kid with his OCD and being absolutely in love with symmetrical stuff and absolutely despising non-symmetrical things. Maka and Soul being the absolute greatest duo to ever exist in fiction, and the introduction to Maka's disconnect with her dad because of him being a deadbeat. And finally, Black Star's inability to collect souls because of his crazy big ego, and Tsubaki's incredible ability to not be annoyed by that. I think the characters resonated with me so much because of them not being no older than 15. Seeing people around my age better themselves throughout a well fleshed out story really makes me want to better myself. The cast feel like real kids placed in this type of situation, and that's what I like about it so much. And the cast, again, are not just real, but extremely likable. I don't think it's possible to hate anybody in Soul Eater. Death the Kid is funny, and him wanting everything to be perfect isn't just a gag. It's a real mental illness people in real life struggle with, and it's one of the main focuses of his character. Maka has my favorite character journey ever, as her relationship with her dad resonated with me for reasons I won't go into, and her path to find herself and what makes her herself are very interesting to me. Her wanting to protect not only Soul and her friends, but to protect her well-being and her soul, because as she says, a sound soul dwells within a sound mind and body. Also, in the beginning, her ironic fear of being afraid is one of the main cores of her character, and instead of finding a way out, she embraces that fear and says that humans need it to survive. Because without fear, what will we have? We wouldn't be ourselves because we become ourselves with our experiences, and with those experiences comes fear. Accepting this fact is what makes your soul your own. Now, I want to talk about Black Star. Black Star is a character I liked at first, but never truly cared about until I read the manga for the first time. Around this time is when I was going through some self-esteem issues, and when I read Soul Eater, Black Star's character really resonated with me because despite having an enormous ego on the outside, Black Star doesn't like himself and portrays himself as weak. But instead of going out loud with this fact, he boxes it in and says things out loud that will give him confidence. Stuff like saying, "I'll surpass the gods," which is why he says it so much. Now, this statement might seem pretty one-dimensional and pretty annoying, but think about it. Thinking that in order to not be perceived as weak, you need to surpass a being that created all life, or in other words, the perfect being. Black Star doesn't think highly of himself at all. In fact, he thinks lesser of himself than anybody in the room. The reason Tsubaki can put up with his shenanigans is because she recognizes this fact, and Black Star knows she does, so he will protect her to the end of the earth. Death the Kid is a complete and utter contrast to Black Star, only really expressing his OCD. Any other time he isn't doing that, he's calm and rarely shouts out like Blackstar would do. While many people in real life have OCD, Kid's case is severely extreme. I believe that this sprouted from Death telling the kid early on, please, I beg, notice my comedic genius, that he dreams for complete and utter peace and order on Earth by establishing the Academy. We all know of Kid's OCD that I just talked about, but I think that his desire for perfection goes broader than that. He also has a love for punctuality, cleanliness, power, and the list could go on. With all these things considered, I think Kid simply wants the best in everything. This makes sense since balance is in itself a form of perfection. He's been described as a rich, spoiled kid, a snob, basically the spoiled kid stereotype. But this also makes perfect sense since he is a person that seeks the best in absolutely everything. He doesn't settle for mediocrity. He wants complete knowledge, complete power, and complete perfection. Not just in objects, but in himself. Despite being the seemingly organized rule follower that he kind of is, he will not comply with a rule if he sees a better way of doing something. He willingly does things his own way because he perceives it as the best way. He is critical and quick to question and judge his surroundings. He will most definitely read the rulebook, but there's no guarantee that he will follow them. Now, as you can see, I've learned a lot from Soul Eater, and it's been a staple in my life for a very, very long time. And in celebration of that, I wanted to end off this video with something many people have requested, a reboot for the anime, because it makes absolutely no sense why there isn't one. Please, I beg, Studio Bones, David Productions, Ufotable, Mappa, anyone, please readapt Soul Eater. It would put a great big smile on my face.
A sound soul dwells within a sound mind and a sound body.